Hello friends, and welcome back to another virtual story time with Miss Liz. Today we're reading a story about transition. I live in a city called Philadelphia, and I think many of you may also live in a city, but there is a big difference between the city and some other places like the mountains, the forests, and the jungles, and moving between those types of different places is not always easy. So today we're reading a book called A New Kind of Wild. It's a story about a young person who moves from somewhere very lush and green to the city, which just doesn't seem wild enough. They meet a friend that might make them change their mind about some things. So we're going to begin to read this book. It is by Zara González Hoang. Here we go. A New Kind of Wild by Zara González Hoang. Wren lived in a little white house on the edge of El Yunque. Here is Wren's house, and look at what surrounds it. His days were filled with green and dirt and rocks and mud. All the bits of nature and magic a life lived on the edge of the world offers. Look at that. There's rivers and rocks and plants and chickens. Wow. Every day, Wren adventured with dragons and chased unicorns. He feasted with fairies and campaigned with kings. In this case, frog kings. And every night, Wren fell asleep to the flickering of fireflies and a chorus of cookies. That's the noise that these frogs make. Cookie, cookie, cookie. It was a place of endless possibility where anything imagined became real, at least until bedtime. This was his home. Until the day it wasn't. Looks like Wren is leaving El Yunque and going somewhere new. See, the car is all packed up. They're waving goodbye. And all of his friends, the dragon, the unicorn, the fairies, the frogs, everything real and imagined, he feels he's leaving behind. Wren found himself in a brick and cement city. Some of you might recognize this looks a lot like the city that we live in. And if you're not from Philadelphia, maybe you can think of a place that you've been to that's a little bit busy and hectic, like in this picture. The friendly sounds of his forest were replaced by the mechanical creaks and beeps and buzzes of a place filled with people and progress. It was too loud and too fast. It made Wren's head fill up with everything and nothing. There was no room left for magic, no room left for wild. We see people talking on their phones, cars beeping at one another, busy stores, and not a lot of green to be found. Without his wild, Wren was lonely. Here he is on the front stoop with one tiny potted plant, but it's nothing like what he remembers from El Yunque. But if you look closely, someone else is in this picture. Someone who is about to meet Wren very soon. Ava, who lived upstairs, was never lonely. She loved her building and she loved her city. It was a place of constant change, with people moving through it like an endless parade. There was always something to see or do, and best of all, there was always someone to share it with. So for Ava, who's grown up in the city, it is a magical place. I think I have an idea of what might happen later in the story. Let's see. So when Ava saw Wren, she ran down to meet him. "I'm Ava," she said. She asked him who he was and how he got there and if he had brothers, a father, a mother, if he liked the city or why he didn't. And she asked him so many things so quickly he thought his head would explode. When she finally stopped for a breath, Wren tried to tell her why the city wasn't for him, but all Ava heard was a challenge. She's going to try to change his mind. Ava pulled him from the stoop and into the busy city. She led him down colorful streets and sidewalks. We have people playing music and playing hopscotch and dogs and paintings and trash. They peeked into alleys. They splashed into hydrants and tried to find the rhythm of the streets, but all Wren saw was gray, and all he heard was the screeching and of brakes and the honking of horns, and it was nothing like home. He wasn't able to see the city in the same way as Ava saw it. She tried to show him the happy people and all of the activities, but it was too loud. She tried to show him the beautiful paintings, but all he saw was the trash. She tried to play with him, but he was feeling overwhelmed. And so he took a break. When Ava caught up to Wren, she asked him what was wrong. "There's no magic here," said Wren. "No wild. Everything is exactly what it is." "You're wrong," Ava said. Hadn't he heard the song of the city? Hadn't he seen the colors in the streets? She'd spent all day showing him. How could he not see? If only he would try a little harder, she thought. But Wren was tired of trying, so he went back inside. Looks like these two young people, they ended their day on a so-so note. When Wren got home, homesickness swept over him like a wave, and he felt lonelier than ever, even with his favorite toys. Outside was a whole new world, one that he didn't belong to. As he stared out the window, Wren saw Ava skipping across the sidewalk. She moved through her city like he had moved through his wild, with an air of possibility flickering all around her. How did Ava do it? Wren wondered. Maybe she could show him how. Sorry I left, Wren said when he found her. I just miss home. I've never lived anywhere else and everything is so different here. I've only lived in the city, Ava said. I can't imagine living anywhere else. What is it like? So now, instead of trying to show him what's so special about her world, Ava wants to know what's so special about Wren's world. And he's going to tell her. Wren told her about his wild, about the greens and the trees and the rocks and the mud, and about the magical creatures that played there. He spun a tale of fairies and fantasy that he just couldn't see on these drab city blocks. And finally, Ava understood what was missing. She brought Wren down to the basement of their building, showed him how the shadows could shapeshift, and introduced him to creatures who lived in the unlikeliest of places, like inside the out-of-order washing machine. See the tentacles coming out? Oh my. And then she took him up Past Mr. Borges in apartment 4B, past the empty apartment with the red door, past stacked boxes and peeling wallpaper, all the way to the very top. She told him that the city had a rhythm and the music it played could be a lullaby or a salsa. Listen, she said as she pulled him outside. The sounds that were so jarring below softened into something almost musical. With the city spread out before them, Ava showed Wren how bricks could become beautiful. It was a new kind of wild. See all of the wild things Wren is looking at in the windows? And this time, he could see it. Wow, look at the city now with aquatic creatures and snakes and robots and colors and action everywhere. Not too different from his old wild in some ways. And that is the end. I hope you all enjoyed this story today. Thank you for reading with me once again, and I'll see you soon for more great books. Thanks for watching.